Okay. What was I doing yesterday, Rachna?
Sir, Shudras um, and Cholas, their technology in building temples.
No, no, no,
Um,
no, no.
uh,
Okay.
okay,
No, it's not
Brahman,
wrong.
Kshatriya. Uh,
It's not the Shudras and their ability to build temples. That is not what
yes,
I.
sir, but
Hmm? I was not talking about Shudras building temples.
yes, sir, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. There
Hmm.
is
Yeah, I
that.
was basically trying to make an argument. The argument
Yeah,
that I was trying to make was that whether you take it as a Varna system or as a Jati system, uh, it is difficult to sustain the idea. It is difficult to sustain the idea of a Chaturvarna or a Chatur Jati. In fact, later on, the Panchama Jati got added on. Uh, the Panchama Jati is the untouchables. So, if you are looking at, if you're basically looking at uh, the ancient Indian system, what I was trying to tell you was that perhaps in a way, uh, what we are seeing is that uh, there were various different castes, and I told you that this whole caste thing is a British invention. Prior to the British coming, nobody talked about the caste system. Okay, people started talking about the caste system only after the British uh, came to India. And that is because I was making this argument that they were talking about the caste system simply because of the fact that they did not uh, understand the logic of the system that was being followed at that time, which technically should be called the Jati system. Okay. Now, there is a difference between the Varna system and the Jati system. They are not the same thing. They are two very, very different things. And I will talk to you about the Varnas, the difference between the Varna and the Jati a little later. Okay, I'll talk about it a little later. What you basically need to understand is the fact that uh, the Jati system, so to speak, is something which is born out of endogamy or in marriages within the same jatis, and the Varna system is far more flexible, and it is something that uh, basically, uh, what should I say, uh, the jati system, the Varna system is far more flexible and allows for things that the jati system doesn't allow. But even before we talk about this, when we talk about the Chaturvarna system, there are four Varnas. You have the Brahman, you have the Kshatriya, okay, and you have the Vaishya, and you have the fourth, which is the Shudra. Okay, now these four Varnas that existed, each of them is supposed to have a certain ability, and it is that this ability which makes them take up professions, okay, makes them take up professions based upon the Varna system. So if you're a Brahmin, you become a learned person. If you are a Kshatriya, then you become a, uh, what should I say? You become a warrior. If you're a Vaishya, you become a trader. And if you're a Shudra, uh, and if you're a Shudra, then you become somebody who is a peasant or one who tills the land. Okay?
Sir,
Yes.
the Brahmins and the other castes can become a part of the warrior class, right? मतलब, a Brahmin can become a Kshatriya. He can become a king.
Brahman can become king. That was what I was saying yesterday. Not just the Brahmin becoming a king, even Shudras became kings. That
Yeah. Then
was
what
the,
are they finally called after they become? So they're called like Kshatriyas only. They'll forego their.
no,
Uh,
they are called Shudras.
okay.
They are called Shudras. They are not called, uh, just give me a minute. I hear
Yeah.
something. Just a minute. I'm sorry about this.
Yes, sir.
I, Very sorry, but my dogs have got used to being in the room while I'm teaching. And since they have a tendency to bark if they hear a noise, I actually kept them out. So one of them was banging on the door and took care of the problem.
I miss
Sorry.
their guest appearance behind you.
Yeah, maybe they'll come back tomorrow. They're still banging on the door. Nothing I can do. We'll carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this whole Varna system itself can be called spurious. Now, let me, before I get into an explanation of that, uh, I will basically talk to you about a couple of things. Okay, before saying that the Kshatriya system, the way it is presented, is not Kshatriya, the Varna system, as it is presented, is a bit of a spurious thing. Uh, Now, you must understand that the Varna system came from the Purusha Sukta. Okay. And the Purusha Sukta is seen as a part of the Rigveda. So, if you look at the Rigveda as such, then the Purusha Sukta is not consistent with a number of things that the Rigveda talks about. For example, if you look at the Rigveda, it is a cosmology. I've been through the cosmology thing. Uh, there is a little bit still left, cosmology versus sociology, but I'll get to that in a minute. First, let me take care of this argument about the Varna thing. Uh, the Rigveda does not show any Chaturvarna. It is the Purusha Sukta that shows the Chaturvarna system. The Rigveda basically talks about occupations. Okay, so when it talks about occupations, what it says is that people with certain abilities should take up jobs that are consistent with their abilities. Now, don't give it a modern interpretation when we say take up occupations which are consistent with your abilities. Because the Rig Veda did talk about the horoscope, the natal chart, that is, and from that it tried to understand what kind of a person somebody will be. Now, here is a very, very interesting thing. This is the idea that is proposed by a number of people. But if you do some research, okay, I'm going off at a tangent now, and this class will be at a tangent. So please don't curse me for that. Uh, what I would definitely say is that, you know, uh, will finish this particular argument, though it is tangential to the syllabus at the moment. Okay, it is tangential, but we'll talk about it because it is
Yes,
important.
it's interesting, sir. Yes, sir, it is interesting. We like
Yeah.
this.
Okay. Now, please try to understand one thing. Okay? Please try to understand one thing. The thing that you need to understand is that the Purusha Sukta is where you find this idea of the Chaturvarna system. The Purusha Sukta talks about a primeval, Primeval, meaning an old somebody, a primeval being, being here not with a capital B, but as a person. Okay, a primeval being from whom the Chaturvarna system has been drawn. So, if you take the Chaturvarna system, then you will see that the Purusha Sukta says that the Shudra was created from the thigh of the primeval being. The Vaishya was created out of the stomach of the primeval being, not really the stomach, it's the pelvis. Okay, from the pelvis that, uh,
Sir,
yeah, yes, Rachna.
primeval being means God, sir. Is it God, sir?
No,
Primeval
no,
being means?
no, no, no. It doesn't
Then,
describe who it is. That's what I'm
then,
coming to.
okay,
That's what I'm coming
okay.
to. Okay. So it is from around the waist or from the pelvic region that you have the Vaishya being born. It is from the shoulders that the Kshatriya is created, and it is from the mouth that the Brahman was created. Okay, so this is something that uh, you find in the Purusha Sukta. Now, if you read the rest of the Rigveda, there is no mention of any of these. There's no mention of any of these. It doesn't say the Shudra is a peasant. It doesn't say the Vaishya is a trader. It doesn't say the Kshatriya is a ruler. It doesn't say the Brahman is a learned man. This fourfold classification is something that doesn't, I mean, is not there in the rest of the, what should I say, rest of the Rig Veda. It's only there in the Purusha Sukta. So, new scholarship that is coming up, and undoubtedly it has to come from the West because we people, we are When it comes to religion, we become bigots. We don't accept any change. But if you do see what comes from the new research, first and foremost, there is no Shudra, by the way. Okay? There is no Varna called the Shudra. And if you read the Rigveda in detail, there is also no Brahman. There is no Brahman. It only talks about two people, two kinds of people. Okay, those who are kshatras, but please remember the way to write kshatra is K S dot on top of the S, A line on top of the A, T R A with a line on the top of that is the accent. Okay, so that is the phonetic pronunciation. So that is the pronunciation of this sha. It's not kshatriya, it's kshatriya. The actual pronunciation is ksatra, not even kshatriya. Ksatra is one pronunciation, and the other is the Vaisya with dot on the S and lines on the A's. These are the only things that talks about. Okay. And if you look at the if you know any Sanskrit, proper Sanskrit scholar, don't go to bigots because they'll give you all wrong impression. Uh, if you look at Sanskrit, Vaisya basically means a laborer or a peasant, farmer. Okay, a laborer or a farmer or a peasant. So it's not the Shudra who's the laborer. It's not the Shudra who's the, what should I say? It's not the Shudra who's basically the farmer. No, that is not there. If you see Ksatra, Ksatra, Ksatra basically is like Kshetra, which is a dominion. Okay, you know what a dominion is. A dominion is an area. Kshetra, Kshe with a dot Tra again. A Ksatra is in charge of a dominion. He's in charge of a dominion. In charge doesn't mean he's ruling. He's not ruling. He's just in charge. what was the system of organization, of administration? You had a panchayat, because we didn't start with kingdoms, by the way. What we started with are what are called janapadas, which are erroneously called republics. Now, republic is a modern word, okay, and it is usually aligned with democracy. Republic is where the public rules itself. So, for a moment, let's accept that these are ancient republics, a different kind of republic, not the kind of republic that we know today. Okay, a different kind of a republic. Now, in this, you had the Samiti system in the Janapada. You had the Samiti system, and in order to administer the Samiti, please remember that we are talking about a rural civilization. The North Indian civilization at that time was a very rural civilization. The South Indian was not as rural as that, but I'll talk about that a little later. Yesterday, I already spoke about Raja Chola and how he built the Madurai temple and all that. Even if today, if you go to North India, go on a pilgrimage, if you are a South Indian, you will be disappointed with the size of the temples, great temples that people talk about. Go to Varanasi. What do you see? Banaras, a small Shiva temple. It's not big by any dimension. It's not at all big. Go to Badrinath, very small temple. Go to Kedarnath, even smaller. Go to Ujjain, even small. There also a small temple. Grand constructions were in the south. Basically, all grand temple constructions are in the south. And if you look at the caste, I mean, rather the names of the sects, sects, names of the sects, they don't correspond to anything in the caste system. They don't correspond to anything in the caste system. Yesterday, I told you the Cholas, for example, they are today, that the caste that the Cholas belong to is among the untouchables. The Chalukyas are Shudras as we see them today. As we see them today. And if you look at the Rashtrakutas, the Rashtrakutas, nobody knows what kind of a sect they were. So they were given a name. The Rashtrakutas were given a name which says Antaj, Antajna, Antajnya, Antajna. If you translate it into our language, or if you translate it into English, Antajna means the bottom. But please see, if you can, they are available online. Please see the maps. Please see how big the Rashtrakutas were. Please see how big they were. The Cholas, I told you yesterday itself. Okay? Yesterday itself, I told you. The Cholas were a maritime power who went and colonized Singapore. They named it Simhapuri, and Singapore is a corruption of that even today. They went into Malaysia, they went into Thailand, they went into Indonesia. I also told you the Indonesian rupiah, though Indonesia is the world's biggest Islamic country, India is the second biggest Islamic country. The biggest is Indonesia. In Indonesia, if you look at the rupiah note, you'll see Ganapati, Vigneshwara on it, even today. The Malaysians, mainly Muslims, I talked about this yesterday. Some of you were not there, so I am repeating this. The Malaysians under Mahathir Mohamad built the world's biggest Shivalinga. They built the world's biggest Shivalinga. Okay. And in Indonesia, this azan that people do, calling people for namaz, it has only recently started in some parts of Indonesia, but otherwise, they rang what were like temple bells to ask people to come to the mosque for namaz. For namaz, that is what they asked. They did. And it is still done in most places, but in some places the azan has started. So, in the South India, where are the castes that are Kshatriyas? And if you look at the dynasties, the big dynasties, even up north, the Mauryas were Shudras. The Maurya was a Shudra empire. Before the Mauryas, it was Anandas. It was not an empire, it was more of a Mahajanapada. It was ruled by Shudras, the Nanda kings. Okay. By then, the Panchayat Samiti had disappeared. The Janapadas gave way to Rajyas. So these Rajyas were ruled by various different kinds of people. The Shatavahanas and the Shungas were Brahmin kings. They were Brahmin kings. The Chalukyas, both the Badami Chalukyas, which is the other Chalukya. The Badami Chalukya is a very big empire. The upper part of it was called the Badami Chalukya.
Vengi Chalukyas.
Yeah, thank you. The lower part of the Chalukyas was called the Vengi Chalukyas. So they were Shudras. They were absolute Shudras. So where is the either the Chatur Varna system or the Jati system? Where is it? It's not there.
Sir, so you're saying there is no original or real Kshatriya Varna as such?
No.
The one who becomes the king or the rulers, they are called Kshatriyas later then.
They are not called Kshatriyas at all. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, this is...
They are not called Kshatriyas. Only the Rajputs claimed that they are Kshatriyas. And that was when? In the medieval period. By then the Islamic period had started in India. Indian medieval period. The Islamic period had started and these people claimed that they were sons of kings. Rajput. Rajputra became Rajput, son of kings. But in Akbar's court, his prime minister was a Hindu, Birbal. His general was a Hindu, a Rajput. Okay. So where is this whole thing about Kshatriyas ruling? It's not there anywhere. It's not anywhere. Once they become kings, they didn't call themselves Kshatriyas. That is what you need to know. In the ancient period, they didn't call themselves Kshatriyas. They ruled as whoever they were. Like I said, the Mauryas were absolute. Mauryas are again untouchables because Chandragupta, today they have become untouchables, not in their time. There is a Maurya caste up north. Maurya comes from Mura. Mura is the name of the mother who was a Dasi in Dasi of the Nandas. Her son was Chandragupta. Because he was the son of Mura, he took the name Maurya. So look at the Ashokan Empire, huge empire. So look at all these things. They're basically, none of them are Kshatriyas. None of them are Kshatriyas. I've run out of time. I don't want, yeah.
Sir, can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
Yeah. From the epic Mahabharata, Karna is said to be a Shudra, right? And that is why he was stopped from taking
Right.
education from his guru because he was not a Kshatriya and he was a Shudra.
He got education from his guru. His guru was Parashurama. He pretended
Yeah,
to be a
yeah.
Brahmin. No, no. Please remember one thing. Parashurama said, I will not teach a Kshatriya.
Hmm.
If you're anyone else, I'll teach you. Only a Kshatriya. Because Parashurama's mother was a Kshatriya. His father, Jamadagni, who was a rishi, he got her beheaded because of her so-called arrogance or whatever. And Parashurama wiped out 21 generations of uh, 21 generations of people or Kshatriyas. Okay, that's what the lore says. So, but hold on to that. Hold on to that. And
Yeah.
I will basically tell you the rest of the inconsistencies. In fact, let me leave you with this argument. The Purusha Sukta today is seen as a later interpolation into the Rigveda. It is an interpolation into the later Rigveda. That's what people are saying today. Serious scholars. Okay,
Right.
before Yasmin kills me, you people should go to her class.
It's
Hmm?
Venkat's class the next.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was Yasmin. Okay. So anyway, so tomorrow we'll go through, we got off the track a bit, but it really doesn't matter. I'll tell you how the Brahmins came.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see you then. Thank you very
Yes,
much
sir. Thank you, sir.
for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you, Afrin, for
Thank you.
remind me about the Vengis.
Okay, sir.
I forgot about them.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Righto.
Bye, sir. Have a
Bye.
good day.
You too.
Yeah.